Today we're talking about the secret sauce to the INFJ cognitive functions, and we're not going to go into the cognitive functions really deeply because I believe there are many videos out there on this and most of you know what they're about. I'll give you a quick overview while we're working at it, but the main point is how to utilize those functions in a way that really change your life, that make you want to grow, that make you excited about life, and you actually see results. And the things we're talking about today are not the things you're going to read about when you look at what are the functions about, what do they mean, how do they manifest in the INFJ, right? These are things that I have learned for myself throughout all of the years that I've been doing this, and I've worked on these things with my clients, with people in the boot camp. So we have a lot of experience in this area, and that's why I'm so confident that these realizations we're going to talk about today will also make a huge difference in your life once you start applying them. And make sure that you stay until the end of the video because I'm also going to mention the two shadow functions that INFJ should not neglect completely. And trust me, I'm not a fan of shadow functions. But those two functions, they should still be part of your thought and decision process. Before we get started, remember, if you haven't done this so far, to download the free poster on the 5 pillars to an INFJ epic life. And if you want to work with me privately, you can book a free discovery call. All the information you need are in the links in the description. So looking at it from an MBTI standpoint, the INFJ has 4 main functions: introverted intuition, extroverted feeling, introverted thinking, and extroverted sensing. Introverted intuition is very narrowed down. It has nothing to do with details. It is all about a big picture. It's always future oriented, but it's always linear in comparison to, let's say, extroverted intuition. Extroverted intuition is all about different options. For INFJs, we have this one vision. We create a pattern out of the information that we do have. And that is our guiding force. That is our North Star. Those are the things that we will hold on to. These are our belief systems. And this function helps us a lot to understand the world around us. It helps us a lot to understand others. So it pretty much is like this vast space that allows us to create a system within it through patterns, right? And the way we put this together is actually our third function in combination with our first. So our third function is introverted thinking, right? I'm looking at the introverted functions first. Introverted thinking is our subjective way of logic, right? This isn't about something that everybody agrees on, which would be extroverted thinking. Introverted thinking is about, this makes sense to me. This definitely makes sense when it comes to the pattern I've created. So I have information A, B, C, and D, meaning the person that I know, for example, has done these 3 steps up until now. So with the help of my intuition, my introverted intuition, and my introverted thinking, I'm creating a system. I'm using my subjective logic to create a pattern of how that world makes sense to me and how it could develop in the future, right? This is one of our guiding forces. And we as INFJs, we are introverts to begin with, meaning our default state is always going to be in that space, in the introverted intuition, introverted thinking space. And if we're not careful, what happens, we're going into this so-called NITI loop, meaning we don't even go outside of that. And the problem with this is that you are not putting new information into your system. You continuously are trying to find a solution. Why doesn't that person want to be friends with me or want to have a relationship with me? Why doesn't this idea that is so obvious to me, why doesn't anybody understand it? And you continuously try to make sense of it. So you keep thinking, but the truth is, if you don't have any more information, right? If you don't have anything externally coming into your system, you cannot really create a new logic. And the thing is this, we do make mistakes. Yes, we INFJs have a great foresight. Yes, there are a lot of things we have a great grasp on. But if we always think, oh, this is something that we can't be wrong about, because we're so committed to this is the way it has to be, this is the way it is, it's going to cause us trouble. And we even get to a place where at some point we have a reality break. And that was actually my thing when I really changed my life and I said, okay, I'm going to start this channel. I'm going to start helping people. It happened because I was on such a bad place mentally that I needed to change something. I recognized what worked for me. These are the things we're going to talk about today, actually, in particular. And once I saw like the biggest shift ever, I saw how my life changed. I saw how my happiness for the first time was in my hands. You know, like just life opened up completely. And it really was a situation of rising from the ashes as a phoenix. And, you know, throughout the years, I've been doing this for 8 years now. You know, there's so many INFJs that have used this and really have changed their life around it. So I want to make sure that you have all the information necessary to make those steps happen in your life as well. So we've talked about the introverted functions. This is, of course, only half of the equation. The other part are our extroverted functions. And our extroverted functions are very often underused. In the end, creating a balance here will make all the difference. And this is something that we have to actively go towards because our default state will always be the introverted side. And it's like saying, oh, I feel so exhausted and so sluggish, so I'm going to watch TV and sit on the couch. Guess what? If you do this, you're going to feel even more exhausted and even more sluggish. So our intuitive thought of, oh, I want comfort now, which is the way our brain works, not just for INFJs, just, you know, people in general, will not be the thing that's going to get you out of that. We have to do the thing that actually feels like it's going to require more energy out of you, that is not the most comfortable. But once you start this process, you will see that altogether you will get so re-energized. Life will make sense on such a different level that you don't even, you know, fall back into old patterns because it feels so much better than you weigh. So in this example of like being on the couch and so on, if you then like implement saying, although I feel sluggish, I'm going to go out for a walk, and you see how that actually energizes you, you're not even going to get to a place where you say, oh, okay, I feel sluggish, and then I continuously just do things that make me feel even less energized. So how does that play out in us INFJs and our functions? Well, let's look at those two extroverted functions. Our first extroverted function is extroverted feeling. An extroverted feeling, you know, is not about creating harmony. Creating harmony is one way of doing it. Extroverted feeling is making somebody feel something. It's about like a common denominator of an emotional state. It's something that people like all together like. And you know that. It's like this language that we all speak. It's an emotional language. And in some cultures, you will have a different emotional language between people that is like, you know, talked or used or whatever. That might be different than in another country or in a different culture. But the extroverted feeling at that moment is the fact that we can evoke an emotion in other people. And we can do that in a way where we're in alignment with what that culture wants. That's how we create harmony or that group. So imagine there are 5 people and you understand what they're all about, what their common, emotional state is at, and you can add to that without disturbing it. But you can just as well, say something that might disrupt this harmony. Because for those 5 people, they've created this common sense of, oh, okay, that's how it all makes sense for all of us together. But now when you step in, it's like 6 people. And most INFJs, what do? They just say, okay, I'm going to act in a way where I don't change the dynamic. I don't disrupt the dynamic. But the truth is, you are now one of 6. It's not like there are those 5 and you're the observer. And we as INFJs so often don't express who we really are, what we really want. We go through life thinking about how we can make other people comfortable. And the problem with this is that if you don't express yourself authentically, if you don't use this energy to evoke something, to make an impact with every conversation that you're having, you know what? You're not going to get new information out of that system, right? that new information happens because you put yourself into the situation. You are not an observer. Just because you can be, that does not mean that that is the only way to go through life. But if you go through life and you say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how I express myself with, the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you show up, you don't dim your light in order to make other people comfortable. And that goes against so much of what we've learned all our lives, right? Because the problem is, the more you lean into this extroverted side, the less you're going to be able to utilize your introverted things. You don't need to understand things to such a deep level if you create something new, because then people sort of adapt more to you, right? It's not about like how much they adapt, but they definitely adapt more to you than if you don't do anything and if you don't say anything. So you actually take a lot of the burden that you put completely onto your introverted functions, you put that onto your extroverted functions. And with that being said, we also go to our second extroverted function, which is extroverted sensing. And it's something that we value a lot, but that we're not very skilled at. And it takes a while to get accustomed to it. This is not about saying, okay, I should go work out, or I should cook, or I don't know, like those typical things that people say are all about extroverted sensing. It's also not about doing everything. Like, it's still our inferior function. We're never going to be ESTPs. Like, I'm not going to compare myself to an ESTP. I know they're going to be able to do 10 times more things, but for us, it's not necessary to do so much. Our superpower is still our introverted intuition, right? But it can be enhanced through the combination of all of those. So I always say, we INFJs, we don't have to do all the things, we just have to do the right things. And if you allow yourself to continuously feed your system with new information because you express yourself, you get the feedback of how that, makes other people feel, how they think about you, and you don't take it personally, but you just take it in as new information. You, for the first time, connect with people on a completely different level, because imagine this, most people are not aware of who you are and what you are all about because you keep that hidden in order to, make them feel more comfortable, or in order to avoid judgment, or whatever it may be. But once you start expressing yourself, some people will judge you negatively who before that thought they could project whatever they wanted onto you. And yes, they might, go out of your way, but there are going to be people who then for the first time really see what you're about and get attracted to you. That's how you actually start creating your life, with you in the driver's seat. And the SE part, the extroverted sensing, is all about saying, I'm going to take steps. They might require energy out of me. That's why we talk about physical energy management in the 5 pillars. Remember the poster, because we want to improve that as much as we can. We need to use the energy that we do have in order to make things happen in the real world. You can have the best ideas. You can have like this perfect vision. If you don't take steps to anchor it in the real world, you cannot build upon that. And that's how we get into those negative, introverted, like NITI loops, because nothing is actually happening that gives us new information. But once you start building something in the real world, like a journey, a life that is getting better and better, you really put new information into your system and can then use it to determine what the next step is. That's why I always say, it might not be the perfect job for you that you have in front of you. That could be the next stepping stone. But it's definitely better than what you're doing now. And on top of that, if you put yourself in a situation that is definitely an improvement, you will be in a new environment. You will have access to different kinds of people. You will have access to new information. And those informations will help you to create the next step of your journey, of your INFJ epic life, right? And it only works if you use all of those 4 functions. But since you as a default are always leaning towards those introverted ones, all you actually have to do is to say, I'm going to lean into those extroverted ones. You're not going to turn into an ENFJ. You're always going to lean towards your introverted functions. But if you make sure that you prioritize your extroverted functions, that you express yourself, that you start taking steps, that you start creating a life, with every step you take, you create more and more balance in your life. And that's when you start seeing that your life is actually improving. You don't feel stuck anymore. You don't feel like you're an observer. You don't feel like life is happening like outside of you and you have no control over it. That's how you take control. And that was like one of the biggest realizations for me. Okay, now I promised you we're also going to talk about the shadow functions, the two most important shadow functions. So from an MBTI point, we only have those 4 functions. If you go a little bit deeper, and you also look into socionics and so on, we have even more. But the 2 functions that we still need to look at, because you have to think about it like this. Just because in our functional stacks we only have those 4 functions, that does not mean we don't have any access to them. So the 2 functions I want to talk to you about are extroverted intuition and extroverted thinking. Extroverted intuition, for example. What is that all about? It's about different possibilities. It's about being open to multiple, scenarios. As you can imagine, this is the polar opposite of introverted intuition. So if we lean completely into introverted intuition, what happens? We don't see that there's another option. I know this is the right person for me. I know this is the right job for me. I know this is what I have to do. There is no other alternative in our mind. And this can make us very stubborn, that can make us ignorant, because we have to be aware we do make mistakes. So if you allow yourself to go more into extroverted intuition, so you tell yourself, now that I'm leaning more into those extroverted functions, it's also going to be easier for me to look at scenarios I haven't looked for before. Maybe the thing that's going to make me happy is like this one area I haven't even tried out. Maybe it's this hobby. Maybe it's connecting with different kinds of people. If you allow yourself some kind of flexibility here and are more open to different kinds of views than the one you're so holding on to because it has to work out, thinking about, okay, I really thought that was the person for me, or I really thought that was the right job or the right path for me. Let me think of it differently. Let me tap into my shadow function, extroverted intuition, and just look at it. What if that wasn't the right solution? There's a reason why it doesn't work out. Somewhere in my thought process, there's a mistake. I don't judge myself for it, but now I have to open myself up to new possibilities and new interpretations. That's why don't neglect extroverted intuition as your shadow function. The other shadow function is extroverted thinking, and we INFJs really dislike extroverted thinking because extroverted thinking is all about this has always worked, these are just the common laws, why are you not listening to that? We like to make our own logic. We like to create something that has never existed, and that's a beautiful thing and it's a very powerful thing. But if you completely neglect extroverted thinking, it will get you in a lot of trouble. But if on the other hand you say, I'm going to just double check with extroverted thinking from time to time, you're going to save yourself so much trouble. So for example, this thought of, this is the right person for me, or this is the right job for me. Extroverted thinking, if you would tap into it, would show you, well, you think this is the right person for you, but have they actually reached out to you ever? Or is it a one-sided relationship that's going on in your mind? A lot of INFJs do this. I know I have. Or, this is the job for me. I just have to put in extra work and make it even better. But if you would tap into extroverted thinking, you would say, no matter what you've done so far, nobody's cared. So why would anybody care in the future? This is extroverted thinking. It's about looking at externally observable facts. So just look at the most important things in your life from perspective of those externally observable facts and ask yourself, does this support my thought process? Does this support the way I think things are working out? And you'll see in most cases they will. But in those cases where you see, no, there is a big discrepancy here, it will just save you so much time of going down paths that are not leading anywhere. So this is all I have on the secret sauce to the INFJ functions. I really hope that helped you. Remember, if you want to improve this whole concept, download the poster, start with the process, work with me privately if you want to take it to the next level. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video to the secret hack to the INFJ superpower.